I trudged my 16-year-old self down the stairs and slowly approached my unsuspecting mother, thinking about the best way to deliver the uncharacteristically bleak message. Mom, I think I need help. My dad's not here. My kid sister cries for him at night. You're losing your goddamn mind being a single mom, and I started listening to Radiohead way too soon. I don't understand the meaning of it all, why there's so much pain and hurt in the world, why I can't do a single thing about it, and why fucking Alex Jones exists. I feel alone and I feel sad, like, all the time. And then the tears started to pool. My mom stared back at me in silence for a few long moments before she said, that's not funny. Make me laugh. And with a gesture of someone shooing the help away, my mom flicked the top sides of her hands at me like I was a literal jester. Mom, you don't get it. I can feel my brain changing. Stuff isn't right up there. Jordan, you are not depressed. Depression doesn't run in our family. I tilted my chin down and gave her the, I'm not even entertaining the validity of that statement glare. It doesn't run in the family, she said like Jerry Seinfeld. Mom, last week you said that sometimes when you're driving you think, wouldn't it be nice if I could just slowly drift the wheel and fall into a ditch and have it all end? While we were in the car. What? Those are normal thoughts. Everybody has those thoughts sometimes. No, everyone does not have those thoughts. Who else has those thoughts that you know? My dad. Oh, the keeper of our genes. Take me to therapy. Jordan, seriously, this conversation isn't fun. Make me laugh. And so I placed a floppy cap and bell hat back on my head and clocked in for my lifelong shift as the primary source of comedic relief for my overtired and depressed mother. As legend has it, I've been making her laugh since before I even knew what a punchline was. I was, in general, a terrifying demon child, but demons are hilarious, and so was I. Once when I was 4, after I did something horrid, my mom turned me around to give me the first spanking of my life. After she dealt the earth-shattering blow to my virgin cherub buttocks, I didn't even make a sound. I just slowly turned my head 180 degrees to look her directly in the eyes and say with a creepily placid constitution, "You know that wasn't right." What an absolute psycho. She tried to maintain the appearance of someone who ruled with an iron palm, but turned away to laugh as I sat on my moral high horse fit for a child. I was so offended by the incident on principle that I apparently went around asking all of my mom's friends if they've ever received a whooping on the butt, looking for community healing from what was mankind's most mild and universal form of physical discipline it's ever known. This too made my mom laugh, but she never spanked me again. As much as I'd like to credit my sound moral appeal for that, I think the real reason she took mercy on me was that life started to metaphorically beat me and her down pretty bad in the coming years. When I was 8, my mom got pregnant with my little sister, Jackie, and that's the year that my attorney father had an affair with his secretary mistress. I'm almost more mad about how cliche it is that he cheated with his secretary than I am about him cheating at all. I still remember the bang of the glass shower door the morning my mom kicked it in on him when she finally confronted him about it. I ran up the stairs of our then nuclear household and into the bathroom to see my cowering, butt-ass naked father stuck behind an unhinged pane of glass. And then turned to see my unhinged mother fully satisfied with herself, water just ricocheting off the shower glass like a burst pipe. I entered the splash zone, figuring that someone should probably check if he was okay back there. Mom, are you gonna help him? No, she said. I'm gonna kill him. Okay, I approached my dad like Harry Potter at a snake exhibit and tried to talk to the most unfortunate species that laid behind the glass, the cheetah on his wifus. I thought to myself, parcel tongue or English, then opted for the latter. Dad, are you okay? He chuckled, but not in the, haha, isn't this funny kind of way, more in the, well, kid, it would appear you have all the information necessary to answer that question yourself kind of way. I'm fine, Jordan. I'm sorry you have to see me like this. Can you lift the door? I looked to my mom and back at him and back at my mom, not sure if I was picking sides by saving this zoo animal. But my mom's gaze was fixed on the ceiling, probably calculating how to get away with murder. So, left with no cues from her, I decided to help him out. I distinctly remember averting my eyes upwards as I got closer. He'd already encountered enough. I wasn't about to subject him to the shame of his poor traumatized daughter also seeing his cold water wang. A man can only take so much. As my dad emerged from the shower, he and my mom got into a screaming match that would last for the next 10 years until their divorce was finalized, complete with lawsuits, custody battles, and unfulfilled visitations. It was during those 10 years I'd learned that the only way to get my single mom out of the murderous mindset she'd grown to constantly live in was to crack the jokes that, similar to that day, had mostly just lived inside my head, and to make her laugh, and make her laugh hard. Challenge accepted. From the ages of 8 to 12, I leaned into slapstick humor, dressing up and acting like a little fucking weirdo, and constantly making dumb faces. There was no real thought behind any of it, but alas, I was just a dancing monkey getting her sea legs. My real weapon of choice during this period, though, was farts, obviously. It was a risky medium when deployed, because sometimes after I farted, she would just tear me a new asshole, for lack of better words, lecturing me on how nobody wants to hear that, making me ashamed for ever even having been born with a sphincter at all. But other times, most times, it crushed. A risk I was willing to take, no doubt. I knew what her soul needed. On long road trips, I'd do something like holler from the last row of the white Pontiac minivan. Hey, Mom, can you turn the music down? Yeah, sweetie, what's up? And I just rip ass, maintaining direct eye contact with her in the rearview mirror, making her and my little sister erupt with laughter, and also distracting her from the execution of her apparent plans to slowly drift off into a ditch, I now know in hindsight. For a giant Halloween talent show once, my best friend Taylor and I found a rendition of the patriotic ballad, Hail to the Chief, that was just entirely composed of fart sounds and other bodily function noises. If I were in charge, the remix would have been called Hail to the Queef, obviously. We choreographed a whole dance to the song, pantomiming farts to a crowd that was 100 people strong, in a skeleton costume that had a feature where I could press a button and have fake blood run down the exposed plastic rib cage at the same time. It was truly horrifying. And hard to say that one did anything for either of our parents, really, except seriously make them question where they went wrong. Sorry, I somehow lost my place. Oh, God. Wait. Thank you. Aha! Okay. Oh, what a great place for me to pick back up. Okay, this is really embarrassing to admit, I even taught myself how to fart on command for the enjoyment of my friends and family. I can't even explain to you anatomically how that's possible, but just know that it is. Even though farts were the epitome of lowbrow humor, they made my mom and sister stop thinking about everything that was going on for 2 seconds, 5 seconds if I'd eaten a bean burrito. From 12 to 14, I moved on to a more evolved form of joking, observational comedy, recounting the experiences of my pubescent life to my mom through my eyes, zeroing in on exactly the types of observations that would make her laugh. Surprise, surprise, the depressed lady loved the dark comedy. Like the recounting of a conversation I had with my good friend Quinn at the time, who was just a poster child for Hot Topic. Don't get me wrong, I loved painting my nails black and wearing ball chain necklaces as much as the next divorced kid guy, but Quinn was Invader Zim depressed, which is a whole different beast. I told my mom about how one day Quinn had turned to me and looked me in the eye that wasn't covered by sad bangs and said, "You know, Jordan, I know you think you're depressed because you wear all black and Good Charlotte's your favorite band, but I know you're really not that sad. You're just a poser." I said, "Bitch, I am so depressed. I play the viola. That's the saddest of the instruments. I am literally surrounded by sad violin music of my own making all the time. Who the fuck are you?" My mom laughed at how absurd the scene was and jokingly consoled me. "Oh, it's okay, sweetie. I know you have pre-suicidal thoughts. Don't let anyone tell you anything different." Successfully evading the deeper question of exactly how depressed I was, and we continued on with our ripe for jokes life. Like the time my mom took us out to church because she thought we, an atheist family, would benefit from Jesus just for a second. I told her I'm pretty sure that's not how Jesus works. She laughed and then made me go anyways. The worst part, they separated us when we got there and made me go to kid church alone. When they asked me to introduce myself, I straight up said, "I'm Jordan. I won't be here for long. My mom's just going through some shit." "Oh, okay. Well, would you like to lead us in prayer?" "Nope, I wouldn't mean it." My mom found the recounting of me immediately outing our family as blasphemous posers to be very funny, and then told me about her experience at the megachurch adult sermon. Being from Vegas, our church productions went hard. I'm talking pastors coming to the stage on harnesses, acrobatic Jesuses flying through the air. I'm not even joking, it is a desecration of all that is holy. She told me about how, as this giant spectacle occurred, they passed around woven baskets from the dollar store for offering. "The audacity," I remarked, "to think the cost of one flying Jesus could feed a family of 4 for a week." We spent the car ride home laughing about how full of shit it all was and immediately went back to our heathen lives. From 15 to 18, I moved into what would be my final comedic form, a satirist. Mom and I would stay up together watching Conan O'Brien and reruns of The Daily Show in her maroon-saturated bedroom every night, laughing about how completely fucked society was and living in a sleep-deprived reverence of these comedians that somehow found a way to make us laugh through the rise of the end times. Pretty soon, I began to channel my own disillusionment into jokes that followed a similar format as my late-night heroes, making fun of organized religion, phony politicians, and basically everyone who disagreed with me. And Halloween, especially, became the perfect opportunity to mock the groups I thought were the most full of shit. My sophomore year, for example, me and my best friends took great pleasure in dressing up as a fundamentalist Mormon clan. And yes, I know the Mormonism depicted by the Helmet Boy is different from the one depicted by us wives. But that's what made it so funny, what pissed people off so much, and what made my mom laugh so hard. You see, Mormons, ironically, entirely saturated my hometown of Las Vegas, Nevada. Some of my best friends were Mormon, and they're really lovely people. But the church was also filled with some of the most judgmental assholes I have ever met in my life, and did personally offensive shit like discourage my friends from hanging out with me because I had a nose ring and was raised by a single mom, who they would then talk shit on in front of me when they thought I wasn't listening for how her atheist tendencies led us astray, insinuating, I imagine, that our family falling apart could have been prevented if we just followed Joseph Smith. As if my dad fucking his secretary could have been prevented only by my mom wearing those hot Mormon underwear. And my friends weren't the only ones who judged my mom those years. Her own righteous asshole of a brother, David, decided that even though he'd not been religious his whole life, at 50 years old, he'd now found God and country, and anyone else that didn't was evil. He even rescinded an offer to help me pay for my college because he couldn't support someone like me going to an institution that was going to further radicalize me, and didn't agree with how my mom was raising me. So, when David publicly identified himself as a Tea Partier, you know what the game plan was for the next Halloween. A bunch of tea baggers. We taped Lipton sachets to the front of our cowboy hats, symbolizing the appropriate placement of the ball sacks that were referenced in the definition of teabagging that everyone else not inside the Tea Party knew and loved, and posed as hyper-religious, hyper-conservative morons who couldn't spell, exclusively wore American flags, and only talked in Southern accents. Clearly, my mom's need for a laugh was greater than her need to stop her bigoted child from going out with metaphorical balls on her head. It was highly offensive, largely misguided, and flat out stupid, but 2010 was a rough year. Frankly, all the years were rough around that time for my mom and us. She never got a single break. She was on the clock 24/7. One year, my dad even moved into the same apartment complex as us to try to make it easier to deliver on the court-ordered 50-50 custody agreement, but the amount of times we actually stayed at his place that year, I can count on one hand. To make things even more brutal, my mom's apartment was situated right in front of the front gate of the complex that we shared, and sometimes I'd just see him leave for work through my mom's window, having not seen him in weeks. It sucked. This kind of shit pissed my mom off so much that one time when he did come back to pick us up for the night at an egregiously late hour, my mom just straight up said, "No, you can't have them," even though I knew she needed a break. My sister and I were both shouting at her, begging her to let us go with Dad. He's literally right here in front of us for once. And she said in front of us, "No, I'm not teaching my daughters that this is the type of love they deserve. Someone who comes at 10 p.m. on a school night, if he even comes at all. Someone who makes 6 figures a year but can't pay his bills in time to keep the hot water on. Someone who says that they love you but doesn't put in the work to show it. Try again next week. Fuck. And she slammed the door in his face. She stormed up the stairs and then slammed the door to her room. I inevitably received the incoming call from my dad apologizing, saying how he wished things were different, but that he didn't want to make a scene. I said I understood, even though I didn't, told him that I loved him, and hung up the phone. My sister and I started the somber walk up to our room, and I thought about how much my mom just fucking lost it, and how much she must just want to lose it all the goddamn time. It started to make sense to me, how she had nothing to say when I talked to her about my depressive crisis that day in the kitchen. She's living in constant crisis, and no one's taking care of her. She's just dealing with all of this shit alone every single day, with people judging her, hating her, and never understanding her. If I have to handle my own shit for a while, that's okay. I'll be okay. I'll just process it later to a room full of other degenerate strangers at a random bar in 10 years. Cheers. As I walked past her room, I put my ear to her door and heard my least favorite sound in the world, her crying. I gave the door a soft knock. Can we come in? I pushed the door open and saw her sitting on her bed with her head in her hands, the satin comforter becoming increasingly stained with tears. My little sister and I climbed on top of the bed, and we all just held each other for a while. As the final sniffles came to an end, we all took a big collective sigh before I broke the silence. Hey, Mom, guess what? Yeah? And then I just ripped ass. Thank you.